It is 1 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica. Cleveland Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson had his hearing with the NFL this morning regarding his punishment, as Watson is facing a potential season-long or indefinite suspension for allegedly violating the league's personal conduct policy for sexual misconduct. College football scheduling news, as the ACC has announced that starting in 2023, the conference is getting rid of divisions, moving towards a model of each team having 3 primary opponents with the rest on rotation. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once and your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Blaine and Mickey 104.5 The Zone. It is the return of the Hitman. It's Tuesday. Blaine's World Travels.
Well, did you lose your voice?
I did. I don't know what happened.
Scraggly?
Something crazy happened right there. I got excited because you went on a fun. I need some. I need to eat nothing but soup for a few days. Get down to my camp weight of 167.
167. You still trying to get there, man?
100%. Well, I just ate like a foot-long sandwich in the green room in there. It's not going to get me there. Should have had chicken noodles.
This sounds like you was partying to the tardy last night.
No,
man.
I don't know what happened.
We all know you're a big time
talking,
partier.
and then I completely lost my voice when the music came on.
No, I know.
I got no explanation for that. Other than this, enjoyed all the Instagram pictures and stories. So you had a big Senior Bowl thing yesterday, and it was like a who's who of everybody.
It's
everybody.
Former Senior Bowl participants, and then that was an induction of the current guys, which was Dak, Phillip Rivers, Von Miller, Kevin Falk. So it was a whole bunch of guys. I still got more. I just haven't tweeted them out. I think I'm gonna just put them in the group now. Just
trickle out one a day or
I
so
thought
until
some
the
of the
season
guys should
starts.
have their own, to be honest, because I'd never done it that way. But I felt like some of them, because they were on that kind of level to me. Von, Phillip Rivers, and so all those guys. So, but yeah, it was great. We did a charity event and then golf and everything else. Man, I got me a nice got my first coat of tan in. So did not have on the shade. But it was exhausting out there in that heat yesterday. We were in Mobile, flying into Pensacola, and then you drive up. So yeah, man. Oh, also, I got to see and talk for a long time with Al Del Grecis.
Yes,
he was there, as well as the Biscuit, Cornelius Bennett. So I was definitely talking to him about why he's not in the Hall of Fame, and because really. He didn't say this, but, it's because he was really great at everything.
Right.
And it's just like his numbers aren't going to stack up to some of the guys, but he definitely was feeling me on that on that analysis right off the bat. He kept bringing up Ricky Jackson, I think, who is in, and he said he didn't realize, that his stats were, a little bit better than his. He did get in, I think a while back, maybe 16 or so. So we rode to Pensacola to fly out, so we got to really have a conversation with him and his wife. So
he tell you how things are going because he's the father of an Arkansas State student athlete.
Oh well, yeah. He transferred from Tennessee. Trust me, I didn't even go down that road, but I already knew that. So yeah, naturally, both of our sons know each other. So we keep in touch. So we definitely the Biscuit. So I have a lot of respect because I think he's a Hall of Fame player. But anyway, there was a whole bunch of guys. Brett Favre was there. It was the kid that I wanted to take to the draft was there. Was the guy that went to South Alabama? But he wasn't
Jalen Tolbert.
Tolbert was not the fast one, but I also like this one because we saw him play Tennessee.
Yes.
And so he was there playing, and I think he went third round to the Cowboys.
So you got to talk to him like, hey, man, I was pulling for you.
Yeah, I was. I told him that. Yeah, it was some South Alabama other players there and coaches, so I got to meet some of those guys. So it was just the who's who of all. And Ozzie Newsome was there, so I asked him, try to give him, little snaz and ask him to give me his evaluation of me when I came out. So that was real funny. He just started laughing, and I said, "Hey, so what was it that bad?" He said, "Well, no. Sometimes you just get them wrong." So it's telling me you didn't have me highly ranked, but you definitely acknowledged that you got it wrong.
Right.
So that was his answer. So it was really cool I got pictures of him, with him too as well. So I'm gonna tweet that out, make sure. But I felt like some of the OG and the GOATs, I wanted to kind of gather. But I had some good conversation with Falk and Deuce McAllister. He was there.
Fantastic player.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Falk was a perfect guy who got drafted to the perfect place.
No
Went
doubt.
to LSU, goes to the Patriots, wins 3 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Big part of it.
Oh, by the way, I felt kind of tall around him too. By the way, I don't even know if he's taller than Aldell Greco. Yeah, it lists him at 5'8", but I don't know.
Ooh.
I don't know, but he was definitely a fantabulous player. So we all know that at LSU and as well as with the Patriots. So yeah, he was coaching at LSU until Kelly came in.
Mm.
So he's no longer.
He's not
there.
part of the family.
Nice. So yeah, it was cool. It was great, man. It's always good when you see former teammates and guys you played against, and then all these super studs now, man. So yeah, that was pretty cool.
In that room full of people, I'm always curious, like who draws the biggest crowd when you're just naming these Hall of Famers and should be Hall of Famers and all time greats one after the other. Like who are the guys that even in that room people are like, I got to go meet that guy.
Well, for the new time guys, I would say they just got inducted. I'm gonna say that Rivers and I would say Von Miller was up there. I also got to meet Creed Humphreys, who was the Rookie of the Year
For the Chiefs.
Yeah, for the Chiefs.
Center, yeah. A rookie
So
center who played his butt off.
When we the veterans, I don't know, it kind of bounced around. Favre wasn't there tonight, where we were all in the ballroom and everything else. So he was just there for golfing. So it's really hard to say. I think everybody kind of, so much respect in the room.
Yeah.
I think everybody just trying to get around and just talk to each other. So it kind of wasn't that kind of format, really. Even when I say Von Miller and Phillip Rivers, it was just because I saw them taking pictures with, more people than most. Mm-hmm. But it might have been because I was watching them. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. But I think, nobody really stood out on that.
So this was for the Senior Bowl Hall of Fame induction, which you've been in that for years now, right?
Yeah, I got inducted in 18.
Okay, so you've been in there. So the class, Creed Humphrey, real young guy.
Yeah.
I saw he was part of it, right? Vaughn, Phillip Rivers, new additions for this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was pretty cool. I think Ozzie, now that he's retired, I think a year out from the Ravens, is I think a trustee or board member. I might be wrong on that, but so it was pretty cool to see those guys up there, and then you get their speech and their story and everything else. The big question coming out of there, really from the Senior Bowl's perspective, is will players, since it's the one that you're really getting ground home work and with NFL teams, will players start opting out? And I thought it would be the total opposite, and they were really surprised at me. I did a couple serious as well as the board members were asking me that, and I said now it's going to be really good players. There are going to always be some really good players at the top of the draft, and if you really want to prove that you stand out, let's just use Von Miller for a case. He was projected as a a later first round, 15 or after first rounder. He came into the Senior Bowl, and then that propelled him to number 2 in the draft. So I think it's going to be more times like that than players are going to be elite and like, I'm better than him, and I don't want to go compete against that guy. Whether I'm thinking about quarterbacks, that's probably the ones that's you're going to be talking about. So I just think it's going to get closer and closer on who's better and who's not. I think that's going to benefit the Senior Bowl. So that was kind of the question really in the room. From the Senior Bowl's perspective. I took the take that I think it's going to continue to be guys competing. Now, what I was saying also is you also got to make sure you talk to these agents, because those are the ones who really put in the thought process. If a guy's number 1 or 2, he's probably not going to play.
Think
other
about
guys, you got to compete for your job.
Oh, man. Do you think
you
about
want to move up? That's money. That's a big difference in money.
You're like a third-round guy. You somehow get an invite. I'm not missing that. I'm going to go show I'm better than the first and second-round guys. Second-round guys, no, man, I'm going to try to play my way into the first round this week. I mean, that's the Senior Bowl, and some of you are thinking, I know what that is. It's an all-star game. It is an all-star game, but it is the most unbelievable job interview that you can get, probably besides the Combine, which is literally a job interview that the NFL puts on themselves.
Because it's the NFL coaches, most of the scouts are there. I think it was really beneficial. You got to see where it stood amongst all the other bowl games when it was COVID, and then really this is the only time they really got a chance to sit down and really see these guys and talk to them. So I think that kind of brought even more value. But Jim Nagy's head of it, Phil Savage was before that, and they've done an exceptional job getting to the level that now that's a lot of talk with now, social media and everything else. So.
And they got the Reese's as a sponsor, too. And
Yeah.
That Reese's ain't going anywhere. We're all going to eat those peanut butter cups till we die. So that's
I'm
money.
Gonna get one during the break.
Well, I may have one with you. Kevin in Nashville. It's your show. When you call, we go to you. Kevin in Nashville on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline has a question for us as we get ready to wrap up this first segment. What's up, Kevin?
Too as well.
Maybe it is Kevin's fault.
Hey, how's it going, Blaine?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Mickey?
Hey.
I just wanted I was at Walmart Sunday, and I'm sitting there coming out, and I turn around and went to get my car, and a gentleman parked next to me comes out. It's Rex Ryan.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he lives here. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't even know that. I thought that was kind of cool. I know y'all meet a lot of people. I didn't know if y'all met him or not.
Oh, most definitely, yeah. His dad actually coached me, and so I've been around those guys when they were younger to even today. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I
wow,
should tell you where he lives. Everybody would know where he lives, but you can't get in it. It's gated.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I won't tell. I'll just tell Lucas during the break.
Maybe he's neighbors with Bill Belichick.
Maybe.
Bill Belichick? No.
Kevin, you got a question, or
he's
are you
more
just
on
keeping
Leaper's
us
Ford.
up on the travelings of Rex Ryan?
He's in Governor's Club there. Got you.
Oh, yeah, just to travel. Yeah, and I'll let you know if I get to meet Aaron Rodgers. I know he lives down the road up here.
Okay.
Yeah. Is his house is done already?
I think so.
Oh.
Well, Kevin, he's out and about. He's seeing everybody. It's funny. I've seen Rex Ryan lots of places around town. He's just out doing his thing.
Yeah.
You know?
It's hilarious. Yeah, he's hilarious. One person, you said who was people around. I have to say this, though. Dak Prescott. He was one, and I don't know if it's just more because he was with the Cowboys, because he's with the Cowboys now, but that he was a little fascinating there. He definitely got the stardom all over, which was just like the star on his helmet. I don't know. Of all the guys that I've just named, which guy would you want to meet? And I said Von Miller, Phillip Rivers.
I've been around him, but I've never met him. For me, just somebody my age, it would be Brett Favre.
Yeah,
You said he didn't come to the dinner, but he played in golf tournament just because he's about the same age as you and me. And, I remember him getting drafted by the Falcons and traded to the Packers and kind of watching his career. He would probably be that guy just because we're probably –
He told great stories.
We're at least partially related because we're from Mississippi and Arkansas. So a lot in common other than me with zero athletic talent and him being a surefire first ballot, no doubt Hall of Famer. But I think he would be an interesting guy to talk to. I've heard him speak, and I like the story. So I wondered, I bet he'd be a pretty fun guy to talk to. I'd love to talk to Dak Prescott, though.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to. There were more people around him to take pictures. I could say that.
How big is he?
I did not feel like he was very big.
Okay, because I saw the picture of you and him, and I thought, okay, how big is he?
I'll probably say 6. He may be touching 6'2", maybe.
Oh. See, I always thought he was bigger than that.
His Wikipedia page says 6'2".
Okay.
Yeah, he's not an overwhelming. Like when you go up to Phillip Rivers, you go like, yeah, I'm looking up. You go, dang, they did. And I used to do that in the games when I hit him. Like, oh man, dang. He stands up. He say, oh, "Good job, little guy." I used to be like, "Oh man, I'm gonna really hit you next time. You're not gonna get up. You're gonna be like that."
People don't realize how big some of the quarterbacks are, and he would be one of those people.
Yeah, he was definitely
And Favre's a pretty big guy.
Yeah, he's thick. He's not. He's probably about 6'3".
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not overly like tall.
But like Rivers, that's a tall drink of water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt about it. So.
Well, Blaine got to live the dream, hanging out. Zach says those were awesome pictures, Blaine. At BBishop23 on Twitter, and you're Blaine Bishop23 on Insta. Is that right?
Yeah, IG, yeah.
Okay, so all right. So hit him up there. You can see all the pictures that we enjoyed seeing. All right, we're talking a little NFL, obviously, and Blaine hanging out with all of his peers. When we come back, Will Selva of the NFL Network and Good Morning Football is going to join us. I'm going to try to find my voice back in this commercial break. I have no idea what happened. But we will come back, talk to Will Selva next. It's Blaine and Mickey, 1045 The Zone.
You got
Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Happy Tuesday to you. Motley Crue, Def Leppard bringing their stadium tour to Nashville and Nissan Stadium June 30th. That's right around the corner. Special guest Poison and Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. It's like every tape I had in my truck in the 80s. 104.5 The Zone is your chance to win tickets. Listen to 3HL this week for your chance to win tickets, or sign up now at 1045thezone.com. We bring in our buddy and a fantastic guest every time we have him on, and he's great on TV, Will Selva, who joins us now at Will Selva TV on Twitter, NFL Network, Good Morning Football. Will, are you a Motley Crue, Def Leppard, Poison, Joan Jett? Like, of those four, who is your number one of those four?
I just wanted you to throw a curveball and say something like New Edition or something.
Hey, you can throw a New Edition.
That would have been something you'd done.
Cool it now.
Don't get me wrong. Cool It Now is a great jam. Out of those bands, I'm going to say that is Poison. And the reason I say that is because Bret Michaels is a huge Good Morning Football fan. And he actually has DM'd me on Twitter before, and he always likes talking about the Steelers. And he says, hey, when we're in concert in Los Angeles, I want you to come and join me up on stage, the whole thing. So very surreal. So I've got to go with my boy Bret. I mean, he's the guy. I also, once upon a time, when I was doing entertainment and feature reporting, I interviewed CeCe DeVille, and that was wild, man. Absolutely mind-numbing. I think he had like 6-inch like platform boots on, and he was just on a different plane. And here I look, you know, I've got like my buttoned-up shirt or my polo shirt, and he's dressed in this crazy outfit. So I would say Poison is first, and then New Edition. In that order. I did that just for you, Blaine.
Wow. Man, he is a well-rounded Renaissance man, Will Selva. Hey, for people like me who love Good Morning Football, it's been interesting because there's been a little turnover with the roster on the show, but
yes.
But I can't imagine what that's been like for you guys. I know Kay left recently, and you guys are trying to find the right components, but I'll just say this.
Yeah.
That show is so good. And you always pick like the right people to come and fill in or do temporary stretches. You guys continue to do fantastic work no matter who's on the show. From somebody who loves the show, I just wanted to say that.
Well, I appreciate it because it is a time of transition for us, and losing Kay and losing Nate. I mean, that's my sister and my brother. We were with the show since day one. But obviously proud of them and what they made of the roles that were there for them. You know, I mean, Nate was not a well-known personality, but he became one. You know, Kay had her own niche, and she became this big personality. So miss them both, obviously, but excited to see what the future holds. And we've had a lot of people come in and occupy those spots in the meantime. And it's been fun. It's different. It re-energizes us a little bit. And looking forward to the future. And hopefully people will continue to watch. Because, again, some people don't like change, but we like to have a structure in place. And when we have people, we like to put them in the best position possible. And as you say that, and we were talking about it, Dan Orlovsky, we had Dan on a few times on the program, and look what he's doing. Yeah. I mean, Dan has absolutely crushed it, and he would break down videos for us as well. So I'm proud of what we've done up to this point for 6 years, proud of Nate and Kay, miss them a lot, but it'll be an exciting next chapter for the program, that's for sure.
Well, I'll tell people if they haven't seen it to watch it, and if you haven't seen it, make sure that you're watching. It's a fantastic show, and you guys treat it what it is. You're having a great time, and you know you're living a dream, and you can tell how much you guys appreciate that. Will Selva, our guest here on Blaine and Mickey.
Well, Will, since you learned how to break everything down from Mr. Dan, who I love listening to him, he does a great job. How do we break down this Deshaun Watson and what's going to be the penalty? What's the appropriate amount? Should be, you know, forever until whenever? I mean, kind of take us through this because I'm interested to see, do players get looked upon differently than actual owners? And I know this is it's a ladies over this whole deal, and she wasn't part of the Goodale's, the sheriff, and his rules, but that may come into play. How do you think that will impact actually the punishment?
Absolutely, that could impact it, Blaine, because the personal conduct policy is something that the NFL certainly holds players accountable to, and I think that potentially the defense of Deshaun Watson could think, well, what about owners? Does it apply to them? So that could be something that the NFLPA eventually could bring up in their arguments for Deshaun Watson to not have any games missed at all. Now, the NFLPA has every right to defend him, and that is what's happening. His legal representation is also meeting with this former federal judge who's now retired, Sue Robinson, and she was appointed and agreed upon by both sides, the NFL and the NFLPA. They are also going to be represented, the NFLPA, by Jeffrey Kessler, if you heard his name out there, but in legal circles, especially sports legal circles, the man is known as a legal bulldog, and he's going to be doing his best to represent Deshaun Watson. They could also look at precedents for other players that have found themselves in different situations, but in this sort of legal situation, say Ben Roethlisberger or Kareem Hunt as well. So that could be a crux of their arguments, what they're looking at in terms of for Deshaun Watson and his camp. For the NFL, and it's been reported out there, and the Wall Street Journal first reported it, that they were pushing for an indefinite suspension for at least a year for him. They are going to have 5 of the women who had filed civil lawsuits represented as well as part of their case. I think the NFL sees it that there will probably be more slow drips of information of more civil lawsuits that will be filed. So I think they're looking at it more as a long play. So at this point in time, that 1-year suspension is what the NFL wants, and Deshaun Watson's camp will counter and say, well, wait a second, we want to go through what these accusers say and their allegations, and we want to counter with proof that what they're saying isn't correct. Now, at the same time, Deshaun Watson has maintained his innocence through all of this, and he said that he had met with the NFL and obviously was very forward with them and his answers. So there's a lot to this. I know a lot of people are wondering, well, when will we get a resolution? That's tough to say because, as you guys know, legal proceedings take a while. They're not always on the time frame that we want. So it could be within a week that we get a decision, or it could happen just before training camp. That was something that Rusty Hardin, his attorney, had mentioned some weeks back that it could happen. So that's kind of where we're at and what could potentially happen. The hearing's happening today, and they could potentially be happening tomorrow as well.
No doubt about it. We're with Will Selva from NFL Network. I know most people don't care about this, but the fans, I get this question when I'm out and about, and it was really more about on the field, Deshaun Watson, and that is if he misses another year, how much will that affect him being the player he was when he left? And I told him, well, it's going to take a minute for him to get back to adjusting. I know he still's got a lot of, youth still there, but it may take him half of a season to realize the speed of the game and get back into form. It's not just going to be overnight. I don't care how much practice you do. What are your thoughts on just on the field, Deshaun Watson? If he misses another year, then that'll be 2 seasons of no play in the National Football League.
I think that's tough to pull off. I mean, listen, if you want to use a very recent example in a different sport, look at Klay Thompson with the Warriors. Klay Thompson was effective, but he wasn't his 100% self. And that's after now 2 injuries that he had. He had a torn ACL and Achilles, so his situation obviously is a little different. But I just equate that to the rust that's existent there. And to your point, I think missing what will potentially be, I think, something like 980 days from the time that he threw his last pass to when his next pass would be thrown. If you look at the 1-year timetable, that's a long time to be away, and it's different to throw against the air and throw into guys at high school fields. I think that's definitely going to be a challenge, and what makes it even harder for the Browns is right now they have a team that's built to win at this very point. You look at their defense, their edge rushers, their running game, what they have pieces there to make a run now, And they potentially could be looking at either Josh Dobbs or Jacoby Brissett, who's the more established veteran who doesn't have a winning record in his time as a backup. So I think for Deshaun Watson to go out there after 2 years, I think he would be a pretty good option considering what's out there on the market. But I don't know if he's the Deshaun Watson of the Texans when he was at the peak of his powers.
There you have it. Will Selva from NFL Network.
Well, and then on the flip side of this, you got Baker Mayfield. He's actually doing a camp back in Norman, and Kerry Murdoch, who's a reporter with Sooner Scoop, was asking him some questions about, the current situation, because I think we all think, well, I mean, it has to be Baker, right? Well, there's a quote. I asked Mayfield if there was any chance for a reconciliation with the Browns if they're without a quarterback this season. He said the Browns would have to reach out to start that process. He said he has moved on. And there was a quote, no, I think for that to happen, there would have to be some reaching out, but we're ready to move on, I think, on both sides. I mean, are they just going to move on, or are they going to be like, you're getting $18 million, Baker, you got to come back and quarterback this team?
I just think that bridge has been burned, in my opinion. I think that is really hard to ask him to come back. I mean, Baker Mayfield played through injuries. Remember the whole Odell Beckham Jr. dad thing. There's just been a lot of stuff that's happened, and I think this is just kind of another piece of it. I think that them deciding not to do anything even before minicamp, because he had said, I would have liked to have known at least by minicamp, and at this point in time, he still doesn't know. He's twisting in the wind, and he's got that $18 million, guys, and I think that's hard to move him, because I think teams like, say, a Seattle, if they're in the market for a Baker Mayfield, they would probably ask the Browns to take a big chunk of that salary. And our NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport had reported that a couple of weeks ago, the Panthers and Baker Mayfield, there was some interest there, but nothing materialized. I think, again, that had a lot to do with his contract and who wants to take it on. So the options right now for Baker Mayfield aren't great, and I just think that the Browns are just too deep into this with Deshaun Watson and saying they did their due diligence with him and they paid him this $230 million guaranteed contract. I mean, at this point in time with their salary cap, I think it comes out to makes $1 million this year, but he gets a $44 million bonus. So that's Deshaun Watson, excuse me. That's with Deshaun Watson. So with Baker Mayfield having the $18 million, I just don't see them repairing this thing. I just don't see how they do it after all that's happened between them. I just think Baker Mayfield is somewhere else.
Wow. Will Selva, our guest here on Blaine and Mickey NFL Network. Good morning, football.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's going to be tough. I hope he can get back out there, because you want to get on the field and market yourself so you can get a decent-sized contract. But, yeah, I don't know if it'll be in Cleveland as well. But sometimes you got to bite the bullet. But speaking of quarterbacks, Will, the Steelers, they kind of have an adjustment at getting to figure out who's their starting quarterback. Is it, not a story, or is Trubisky the starting quarterback? I mean, do we know or do we not?
I think at this point in time, Trubisky is seen as the starter just because of his experience. And I think with a guy like Pickett, I mean, he's a rookie. They are very familiar with him because he did practice right there in the facility. And I know that Mike Tomlin likes him a lot. But I think that they are going to go with Trubisky to start. That way Pickett can slowly get into it. Now, from what I've heard, I mean, Pickett is picking things up. They obviously believe in his skill set and his football IQ, but I think Mike Tomlin's a guy that he wants to kind of go with the veteran guy and see what he can do. I mean, listen, we saw with Big Ben just being a shell of himself, and you saw what the Steelers were able to do. And I think that they just very much believe in having at least a somewhat established starter that has some experience. And I think that's Trubisky. We'll see how much, sitting as a backup has helped him out, and if he learned anything from his Bears experience. So I think while they're excited about Pickett, I think they want to kind of slow play that first and kind of see how he does in training camp. But if I had to say who the starter is at this very moment, I would say it's Trubisky.
Man, Will Silva, that's good information here from the NFL Network. I guess I want you to explain to our fan base how competitive it's going to be in the AFC for the Titans and give us your top 5 teams. I'm assuming that maybe the Titans are not in that. And it's going to be a tough road, and they're going to have to play at another level. Give us your top 5
Well,
AFC
listen,
teams.
I mean, yeah, you know what though, Blaine? I mean, you could easily go with part of the AFC West at this point.
Right,
I would,
right.
Right. I mean, you can go with most of those teams there. I mean, I think the Chiefs, you can't discount them. I know they had tried to plug some holes and some issues that they had, at least with that offensive line. Defensively, I would still not count out Patrick Mahomes at all. I think Josh Allen's going to be hungry, especially after that overtime game. I think that's going to be key. I mean, as I look down, then I want to keep going to the Chargers. They got a really good team now. You know, they've got some good edge rushers. They got an aggressive head coach. They're there.
Raiders.
And the Raiders, you could make an argument that they're there as well. Now that they got Devontae Adams and they got Chandler Jones on the edge. I mean, to your point, I want to put the Titans there, but I don't know with those other teams if they're there yet, you know. And again, Tannehill scares me a little bit. He concerns me a little bit, you know, when those big situations arise and the tendency to kind of throw those interceptions. It concerns me. Now you got the young pup there, Malik Willis. You know, that's going to create for an interesting scenario there to see how quickly he develops, because honestly, that's a quarterback who brings excitement, and I'd love to see what he brings. So at the moment, I wouldn't put the Titans there, you know, because I just think like some of these other teams are just built for it now a little bit more than the Titans. But I know Vrabel and the guys, they'll be ready to go. And I know Derrick Henry is also, he's going to be eating a lot. And I think that Ryan Tannehill will have a lot to prove too. So those are kind of like my teams that I would put off the top. I think I would have to still go with Chiefs and then the Bills right there after them.
No doubt about it. Will Silva, NFL Network. One more fun question. I see these guys are boxing. This is the second time I've seen this. Le'Veon Bell versus AP. I mean, what's going on, man? Are they getting paid a lot of money to do this, or they just want to get hit in the head a lot? I mean, what's going on here, man? Why are they doing this?
You know it's funny that you say that. So they play a sport where they get hit a lot. The last thing that I want to do is go into another sport and get hit more.
Yeah.
That's the last thing that I want to do. I don't know if Le'Veon Bell is going to be just as patient as he is on the field, if he's just going to kind of wait for those holes, you know, to duck and juke, you know, I think, and jab. So, you know, and Adrian Peterson, it's like, you know, I mean, listen, he was quick on his feet when he was in his prime, but he could bulldoze guys. I mean, I think I would probably go with Peterson in this case. I don't know how much money they're making. They're not retired officially either, by the way. So maybe this is a signal that they are going to do it. But I don't know. I mean, I think that it's probably going to be Adrian Peterson. I mean, what do you guys think? I think he might be the guy that prevails. I don't know if it's going to be a knockout. You know, I don't know if it's going to be like Frank Gore. But I think maybe I'd put my guy, Adrian Peterson. I think he's going to be the guy that would do it.
I hope it goes better for him than his stint with the Titans. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's right. Who could forget? That would be a nice
You undercut him right there, man.
on our show. You know, we do that segment with Kyle and Peter in that New Jersey. If you get an Adrian Peterson Titans jersey, that's what you want to see. You know, they always want to see the obscure jerseys out there. So if they're out there and you're a Titans fan, we'll run it on the show. The guys like that stuff.
Fair enough. Will Selva, our guest. On the way out, I did have one more random question for you. If there's a Nobel Prize for math, should the Rams capologist win it? Because they've just signed everybody for all the money in the world this offseason. They just keep the train moving with no first-round draft picks.
Listen, they're eventually going to have to face the music, so to speak, on this, because – they can't do this forever, because eventually it is going to catch up to them, and some of these veterans or injuries are going to start to pop up. But the capologist that they have is phenomenal. To be able to get a Bobby Wagner in there, and they're looking to try to bring back Odell Beckham Jr. as well. So, yes, they should work for NASA. They should get Nobel Peace Prize. I think they should be splitting the atom. I think they should be doing all those things. I think however many gigawatts in their car that they drive, whatever it is, I'm down with it, because they seriously have made us look like fools, where every time we think, the Rams can't do this, they can't do this. Oh, wait a second, Aaron Donald gets signed on. Oh, now they got Jalen Ramsey. Now they got Bobby Wagner. I mean, they just keep adding guys, and it just seems to work for them. So I agree. Whatever he's getting paid, he's not getting paid enough, guys.
There you go. Will Selva, Will, always great to hear from you. People need to follow you at Will Selva TV. Get your work on NFL Network, and you and your Good Morning Football family always doing fantastic work. Thank you for the time today, buddy.
Appreciate it, Will.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys.
We'll do it again soon. Will Selva, NFL Network. We come back again. Baker Mayfield doing a camp back in Oklahoma, interviewed by the local press. Doesn't sound like he sees a reconciliation coming. You will want to hear this audio. It's next. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. If you just joined us, Will Selva from NFL Network, a great guest. Just had him on talking a whole lot of NFL news and notes from today, so you can check that out on the podcast.
We were hoping to get some information on Watson, though. I mean, like a little leakage of something.
Nothing.
Dang.
We have ESPN on the studio, and they're basically saying, yes, there's a hearing today. Well, thank you, guys. Thank you.
It begins today. It began this morning.
It has begun, as REM once said, begin the begin. It has already begun, and it's just people saying that it is beginning. Thank you. This breaking news here out of Bristol. This is on the other side of the saga of Deshaun Watson is, okay, then who's going to play quarterback? And so Baker Mayfield, former Vol for life, Josh Dobbs is on the Browns now, as well as Jacoby Brissett. Those are the other guys. So I think when a lot of people look at the Browns, they think, okay, well, they'll patch things up with Baker and everything's going to be okay. And, well, Baker was doing a football camp today back in Oklahoma. And who is this courtesy of, this sound, Lucas? Okay, Lucas, we want to just – you can even play it. This audio, Baker Mayfield basically being asked about his future with the Browns. We'll give you the credit because we want to make sure we credit who got this. But this is Baker Mayfield talking about his relationship with the Browns. This is from his football camp.
Is this process right now for you just – I mean, is it a little unfair that you still don't kind of know where you're going or what's going to be happening?
I think I got frustrated with it not happening before, like mini camp and all those things, but – That's the stuff that's out of my control, and so, let those things happen and fall into place. And so right now I'm just controlling what I can and enjoying this.
A lot of people that know you know, kind of what you're about and your personality, and they're curious, could Baker Mayfield ever play again for the Browns if that
I think it's been pretty obvious the mutual decision on both sides is to move on. I'm thankful for my 4 years in Cleveland. There's a lot of ups and downs and a ton of learning experiences that I'll forever keep with me. Teammates and friends and relationships that I'll have for a lifetime. And just flew in last night from East Lansing, Michigan for Drew Stanton, who's my mentor. He was a quarterback there in Cleveland when I got drafted. And just relationships like that, you're just so thankful for. So, I mean, the support staff in Cleveland, the people of Cleveland, it's a great sports town. So I'm thankful for it. And there's no resentment towards the city of Cleveland by any means.
But I think a lot of people think if they didn't have a quarterback for the next year, would there be any chance of reconciliation there?
No, I think for that to happen, there would have to be some reaching out. But we're ready to move on, I think, on both sides.
Soonerscoop.com with that information.
Well, you know what? And I'm the only person who's saying this. Everybody else is going to get that he's never going to play there, and I'm just not that kind of guy. You can never say never. And he continues and I liked his tone in this conversation, actually. And I liked how he presented it. Just that last little part, I think he feels like there was a final conversation. Could this be reconciled? Probably behind the scenes. And I think both sides just are not there. And he just says, nah, I think it's probably time. He's probably saying, I probably said a little too much. They probably said a little too much. And then now it can be. But I would never say never. I don't know why I think from the business standpoint that going back to Cleveland is his best option, at least for him. And I say that because you know the system, you know the players, you're going to have success, and you must sell yourself. Now, they can screw him, by the way, and don't do anything with him. Besides he getting that $18 million check. He can sit at home the entire season. And he must not, and his agent must continually to tell him that could actually happen. That is on the table, trust me, from the Browns.
Yeah.
I guarantee. 18 million is like 18 cents to them. So, and so that can happen unless somebody gets desperate enough to step up at the table. So if I'm them now that I've gotten to this point in time, I think they'll wait it out until they can be stubborn until they actually at least get a 5th round pick for him. If we don't get anything, we'll let him just sit at home. Guess what his market will be next year? It'll be middle of the road. He's going to have to take another year to prove that he's a starting quarterback. So you don't know what that salary is going to be. It'll be less than $10 million for sure, and maybe less than $5 million. Nobody knows where he's at. He's going to say, "Oh, you're healthy," all those things. So I thought he went bad early on, and you never go against the organization like that because you never know what could play out here with the Watson situation. He got emotional. That's what makes him a good football player, a great football player, but also is his downside, being emotional, speaking out early on without somebody guide him through the process. So I think he made the mistake early on. They made promises to him. Naturally, he played hurt. He played like crap. He thought they would be loyal to him. There is no loyalty in this business, and that's why some players don't play hurt. And it's a fine line, because some players will look at it like, hey, man, you can play as your 9 throwing shoulder.
Right.
And some guys will be like, but it's affecting my actual throwing motion. And where I hear this a lot is from about Garoppolo. There were some issues about him with the Patriots and not playing injured. Brissett was actually involved in there, and he played injured and played well. And they're saying, well, why can't you play? So, and those same things happen in San Francisco. Plays well when he plays, but when he's injured, even if it has nothing to do that he can actually still play and be effective, he won't play. So sometimes you got to be somewhat that guy. Some guys don't even care. Like, it depends on position. I didn't care. I played hurt all the time. But, some guys just say, I can't. I remember I go through the Samari Road, and it depends on what position you play. He's like, hey, man, I'm about 80% my ankle. You say, well, you 80% Randy Moss then.
Right.
You guard. Man, come on, man. You can't play, man. Come on, man. We need you. You like, hey, man, 80% ain't going to cut it against Randy Moss.
Well, and what you've always told me, too, is, because I asked you about this once,
right.
like, people know this guy's hurt, and you're like, people don't care.
People
if
don't
you
care.
suit up, then you're
healthy.
saying, I can do everything I'm supposed to do. If you put the uniform on and say I'm going to play, then nobody cares about anything.
Nobody cares. And so to me, the fault here to me started not when he started playing games, but when we kept playing games repeatedly and he wasn't effective. He should have got taken out, and they should have told him he couldn't play. And he should have said, I'm actually hurting the team. I need to step back. And maybe I should be the backup quarterback. I know I can function if I have to play in a limited role, but his competitive nature wouldn't let him do it. So I think that's where it all went wrong from the jump. And then naturally there's always two sides of the story, and both sides are wrong on that. Because the player's going to say, hey, I can play, and especially if he felt a little threatening by maybe whoever the backup quarterback was. I don't know who the backup quarterback was, but, you don't want to let your team down. So we got to give him kudos for that, being a tough son of a what.
Is that.
Good Lord. But in this case, it backfired on him. And then his natural emotional reaction, being that he's a fiery guy, cost him probably in the beginning of this whole situation. But if I was the GM, I would hey, you can say what you want to say. I'd be like, yeah, man, you got to show up, bro. $18 million.
Here's the report date.
Matter of fact, you're probably not going to start. So you just got to sit there and be peaceful, because we're going to try to trade you, but we got to get your value up. If not, then you can just sit here on the bench until we do. Or if you get an opportunity to play, maybe that will increase your value.
We're hoping to increase our value in the second hour of the show. What's coming up next? Coach Mack will join us in a little over 20 minutes. Headlines next, including this. Braves fans, you were sad about Freddie Freeman leaving you? I think he may have been pretty sad, too. There's some news on that. That's next.
Little Baker Mayfield?
It is 2:02. Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica. Another wide receiver has cashed in the NFL as the Washington Commanders and star wideout Terry McLaurin have agreed to terms on a 3-year deal worth $23.3 million per year. That is courtesy of Ian Rappaport of NFL Network. Cleveland Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson had his hearing with the NFL regarding a potential punishment that started this morning. Watson facing a potential season-long or indefinite suspension for violating the league's personal conduct policy for alleged sexual misconduct. So who will the Browns turn to if Watson is set to miss the entire year? Doesn't sound like it'll be Baker Mayfield after he met with reporters in Norman, Oklahoma today.
I think it's been pretty obvious the mutual decision on both sides is to move on. You know, I'm thankful for my 4 years in Cleveland.
Was an emotional weekend in Atlanta for Dodgers first baseman and Braves legend Freddie Freeman. A report now from Buster Olney. Freddie Freeman, who has told friends he's angry with how his free agent negotiations played out, is changing representation and is currently listed as being self-represented. The Braves are on the road tonight at the Phillies, a 6:05 first pitch. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. What's up? Hour number 2 of the Tuesday program. We got NFL news. You want to hit the yeah, there you go.
Oh, my. Stop that.
Too much?
The BB, maybe?
I don't know.
Or
Wait,
could there
we
be
can
too
go
much
over
of
the
that?
top because this is actually an alum of the same high school I went to. So I am very proud of my alma mater in Cathedral High School right there in Indianapolis, Indiana. Some little small private school, Catholic high school that produced a lot of pros. And this one here got an extension.
Yeah, this is rap sheet. I think everybody's reporting it by now. The Commanders and star wide receiver Terry McLaurin, the man they call Scary Terry, which is a fantastic nickname, have agreed. He didn't say that, I am. Have agreed to terms on a 3-year deal worth $23.3 million per year in new money. So Scary Terry gets 23.3. And thank you, Zach, who'd said in the Zone TV chat, hey, you guys check this out. McLaurin got an extension, $71 million total.
You didn't get that from Schefter, huh?
I did not. I don't follow Schefter. He thinks that the Music City Miracle was a forward lateral, which it is not. You ding dong. So Terry McLaurin gets paid $23.3 million. Does that
fair? So that 23. Here's the question. You know, from Titans fans, would AJ Brown take that? 23. Hey,
are you surprised, Lucas? Are you surprised it wasn't more for him, or does that sound about right?
That sounds about right for Scary Terry, and I would have thought that would sound right, if not a touch high, for A.J. Brown if we were having this conversation a couple months ago.
Now, I think A.J. Brown went – I'm just looking at where he went in the draft. He went second round. I think McLaurin went third round. Right, because he had to transition a little bit. He was a running back in high school, just like I was, and he moved to wide receiver at Ohio State.
Yeah, he was a third-round pick.
Yeah. See, so
what a great pick.
I think that's, you know, he became polished, much more polished. He said he did 1,000 routes a day to learn how to run routes, and it benefited him naturally greatly. But I think he would have been of value a little bit less than A.J. Brown, in my opinion, even though I think he stays healthier and those things. But I mean, just on the field, let's just look at the talent. I think A.J. Brown would have probably wanted more than that. He wanted 25, right?
Yeah,
he
that's
got
what he got.
25.
And so it's 23. So that's probably about right. You know, McLaurin, I think, is just a notch below him.
And McLaurin says, thank you, A.J. Brown.
Yeah, no doubt. Thank you, Jaguars, for screwing this whole thing up in the offseason and getting everybody's pay all out of whack.
The Commanders had to have some good news come out of, the Commanders' front there.
See, that's a good point to make. Mm-hmm. That's a fantastic point. And that's a real thing.
It is.
For people. So what's Blaine talking about? That's like a boat that is sinking while on fire. It is a train load of dumpsters wrecking on fire. The Commanders. But all of a sudden, like, here comes a guy with a tiny fire extinguisher with $23.3 million on it and has Terry McLaurin's name. Look, no, things are going great.
Mm-hmm. Snyder will not be present for testimony this week, by the way.
Oh, that chicken.
But here's $23.3 million per year for Terry McLaurin. See, we're doing our business, people. It's good news from the Commanders camp. That is well timed. And here's the thing. You make a great point. There's a thing. This is so funny. There's a thing called the Friday news dump.
Mm-hmm.
And if you listen to radio or if you follow us, we've discussed it. So have others.
Bad news.
If you got something terrible to say about your organization or your team, or you're going to let somebody go. Like if the Preds just come out and have to say, okay, we're not going to sign Forsberg. It's never going to happen. You wait till Friday at 6 o'clock to put that out. Because you have a whole weekend of news cycle to pile up on top of it by Monday when everybody turns their microphones back on. So
hopefully it gets pushed down to the bottom or forgotten.
100%. Like maybe somebody will do something stupid over the weekend. This will be like the 5th biggest thing by Monday. But just the opposite of it is wait till Monday and announce that you've signed Terry McLaurin. So we all talk about it for the whole week while Daniel Snyder is avoiding Congress.
Except it's Tuesday.
Yes, Tuesday. Dump it early in the week so Daniel Snyder can literally avoid Congress while people are like, oh, no, look at this. Terry's back. Fantastic.
Bad news on Friday, so Blaine and Mickey have the whole weekend to think of a new ding-dong.
That's right. So here's the top paid receivers per year. Tyreek Hill is 30. Devontae Adams is 28. DeAndre Hopkins, whose deal is a little bit older now, a little age on it, 27,250. Cooper Kupp is 26,700. A.J. Brown is 25. Stephon Diggs is 24. And then Terry McLaurin is next at 23,300. And then you got DJ Moore and Keenan Alexander and Amari Cooper and Chris Godwin and Mike Williams, who are all right there at around 20 million.
But somebody's missing. Who's missing?
Debo! So when are we going to hear about Debo getting his bag?
When's he going to get his 26 per year?
I was going to say he's got to do better than, and I love Terry McLaurin. Debo's got to do better than that because they give him the ball 7 times a game with a handoff.
I don't know, but it better be sooner or later, man. I think they're going to figure something out. I really do.
Oh, they got to. They got to figure
They
something
haven't
out.
shown any hints. They haven't talked about it or anything. Maybe when they get rid of Garoppolo, that opens up space for them to do it. I don't know. Garoppolo's supposed to make, if he's on the roster week 1, $24 million.
You got to go. You got to pay Debo. Got to go. Bye.
Oh, no, man. I don't know if he's – what are they going to do?
What's the guy's name? Trey Lance. Come on down.
No, I'm talking about how can they trade? I mean,
I don't know who wants to pay Jimmy G that much coming off shoulder
surgery. They can't trade him to
surgery.
Seattle because it's right there. Somebody should get involved and make it a 3-way trade, and they benefit some kind of way. So then they
NBA would have figured this out months ago. It'd be like a 5-way trade, you know. NFL's like, nah, we don't do that. NBA, it's all just one math problem.
I don't know. Just
shuffling numbers.
Just call the Rams and ask them how they do.
Well, yeah, that's true. You just asked the Rams a capologist, who, by the way, I think is the smartest man in America. We'll get to Jason's phone call. Here's what we were teasing. Freddie Freeman left the Braves, landed with the Dodgers, was very emotional in his return. He has fired his agent and is apparently now representing himself, asked no agents to reach out to him because he is – Lucas, is this correct? Because he is so upset about the way his tenure and the negotiations ended with the Braves.
Yep.
So he has fired his agent, Freddie Freeman. All you Braves fans who miss him, apparently he misses you too. Because he has decided that he is very upset to no longer be in Atlanta. I
found this weird, though. It was after the series versus the Braves, right?
Yep.
And he played the Braves up there, and he had a home run against them, and it was not as much talk of this then. So did he come back home, let's say we're calling it home, Atlanta, and find out some information that he didn't know in negotiations that made him feel that way?
Here's an ESPN article from Buster Olney. The Braves made a $135 million 5-year offer that was still on the table after the owner's lockout ended. As reported in March, Close, who's the guy's last name, the lead negotiator for XL, contacted Alex Anthopoulos, the head of baseball operations for the Braves, and presented 2 proposals on behalf of Freeman, significantly higher than the 135 offer, and gave the team an hour to respond. After that deadline passed, Close and Anthopoulos agreed that there were no offers on the table.
Now, Why would an agent do that? Because he already had the Dodgers for more.
Mm-hmm. And he got more.
And he wanted, he probably, that's the part that's missing that they didn't put in there. I guarantee it. They said, hey, we're going to give you an hour, and we need to know, are you in on this deal? And so then he had to go back to Atlanta and say, hey, man, I'm going to give you an hour, take it or leave it. If not, because we can lose both deals. See? So I think it's more to the story there, because that's kind of how negotiations go. When you give the organization a time frame like that,
yeah,
you got something else in your back pocket. You never do that, ever.
He got 6 for 162 from the Dodgers.
So you got an extra 30.
Yeah.
So and now some people will say, well, moving, cost of living, maybe you got an extra 15, which could be true. But, hey, 15 million is 15 million. Now, are you happy? Do you fit in with the clubhouse and all those things, transition? You got to take that all into account. Now, here's what possibly, maybe Freeman didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
And he might have taken that first deal. Yeah. But to me, that's bad agents then, because he's supposed to tell you your
everything.
options.
Yes. He works for you.
Now, if you didn't get back to him within that hour and he gave that time frame to Atlanta, I mean, he's talking way too much about the Braves on the Dodgers, almost undermining the Dodgers. I mean, it's getting to that. If I was a teammate right now, I'm like, hey, man, okay, it's over.
We got it.
We get what's going on here. You were Mr. Brave. We cool with that, but hey, it's time to move on.
Let's go win a World Series.
You now got LA at the top.
Yeah.
Not just the A, LA.
No. Yes, there's an L on your A. So stop taking the L and get your A back out here and play ball. Let's get Jason in Nashville real quick on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. What's up, Jason?
Hey, thanks for taking my call. Hey, Blaine, I got a question. I don't know if y'all have thought about this, because I originally called about the Jimmy Garoppolo situation. And, now that I heard Baker Mayfield saying that, it's pretty much over with them, I was wondering if they would take a shot. But I guess my biggest concern about this whole thing, being a Niner fan, it's frustrating to know that he went and had surgery and the team didn't know he was going to have surgery, which got them messed up on him leaving. From my understanding, they had no knowledge that he was going to have the surgery. That's why they turned down 2 different teams offering second-round picks for him. But ain't there something that they can put in these contracts to make these players tell them? I mean, how could he do that and not tell them, and they're still on the hook for paying him?
I'm about to get you real quick. That goes on all the time. And how about this? I'm going to turn it the other way. Why didn't the 49ers know he needed surgery? They knew before him. They do physicals, check in, check out. They knew he was injured. Trust me.
That could have been true, too, because even being an Niners team, I speak against my whole team. They could have been wanting to ship him out like somebody knowing that they got a problem with their car, but don't tell nobody and just sells the car. So it could have been going dirty both ways. I mean, I'm not going to.
But the team was going to give him a physical. The team was going to give him a physical wherever they were looking to trade him, and that would have botched the deal as well, even though it was non-throwing shoulder, right? Or is it the throwing shoulder? I'm not sure. Is it Garoppolo? Is it the non-throwing? I think it's the throwing shoulder. But from what I'm understanding, it's not something major like.
Right. He's supposed to be throwing again soon.
Right. So, but the whole point is he might have done that because he said, hey, look, y'all going to try to trade me? Then I need to get healthy. I've been playing with it. Obviously, it didn't affect him throwing. He was throwing.
Yeah.
So he wanted to get it fixed. And maybe because they was trying to – ultimately, I would favor more the organization this one. I think as soon as they drafted Trey Lance and moved up and got him, they were like, okay, that means it's time to go bye-bye. Yeah, and Garoppolo's agent probably was like, okay, we're going to get everything fixed. You don't play injured if you're injured, and we'll make sure that we get this thing done. And so at the end of the day, they're going to try to screw you, or we can screw them too. Mm-hmm.
Well, we never get screwed over by Coach Mack. He always has great intel, and he is going to join us next. Coach Dave McGinnis, next. The Mack Attack on Blaine and Mickey. Blaine and Mickey 104.5 The Zone. It's Tuesday. You hear that music, you know only one thing comes after that. Coach Mack joins us for the Mack Attack. Coach, how is the Mack Across America tour doing? Where are you checking in from today?
I'm in Las Vegas now.
Man.
I got back in late this weekend, and I was telling Lucas I got a lot of business done in 8 or 9 or 10 days, however long I was gone, and it was very good. But I'm back in Nashville now. I tell you what, guys, I don't know if you've traveled lately, but if you're flying commercially anywhere, you need to pack some patience. I'll tell you that.
Blaine Bishop, that's the first thing he told me. He had to go to a Senior Bowl event. You need to tell him who. Mac, you need to hear who he was hanging out with yesterday. Big timers.
Well, it was, Coach Mack. Somebody needs to develop
Wait a minute.
social media for you.
Blaine Bishop is a big timer.
Of course, they were hanging out with him.
I'm under the big timers, but that's okay. I appreciate that, Coach Mack. But the airport was horrendous, especially in Nashville. I got a little nervous. It was so many people. I felt like I was at a concert. And I was like, oh, my gosh, I couldn't even get to the security line. It was so far wrapped around. I was in a whole nother second. I couldn't even see the security line.
Oh.
Yeah, see, and I was traveling the coast, too. So, I mean, it's not good. I mean, as I said, you need to pack some patience, and you need to realize it before you take off, because if you're not paying attention to what's going on and you're surprised by it, it's a problem. What the Senior Bowl have? They've got their Hall of Fame stuff pretty.
They had their inductions. The players, Phillip Rivers was one of the guys there, but the headline Von Miller, Dak Prescott were the two headline guys. Phillip Rivers was the former selected guy, but yeah, so they were headline. Kevin Falk, former Creed Humphrey was there. He was Rookie of the Year.
Sure.
So they it was a lot of guys there.
Well, that's very cool.
Then a golf tournament for charity the next day, so I was out there playing golf yesterday.
Absolutely, and you know what? They're doing a great job with that Senior Bowl now.
Yeah, Jim Nagy. Mm-hmm.
He's doing a great job.
Savage did
I
a good
coached
job.
it. I coached in it 5 times.
Did you?
Once as the head coach, and to me, I'm a big proponent of the Senior Bowl. You know, for a lot of reasons, and you know, especially for participation, and especially participation. You know, with the interviews and the first few days of practices. The game, you know, I mean, it's okay, but the practices and the interviews and everything that goes with it, I'm a big proponent. And I know that the agents control all of it, but I'm a big proponent of guys going, because you can get a lot of information watching one-on-one competitions in those practices.
Yeah, good example of that, Coach Mack, a guy was just inducted into the Hall of Fame there with the Senior Bowl, was Von Miller. He was projected a 15 or a little bit later than that, and he projected now after doing the Senior Bowl to the second pick of the draft. I think everybody thought he was good, but, you know, I don't think they were thinking he was going to go that high until after the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, and I remember, you know, Vaughn, because I've been to all of those Senior Bowls, you know, as a coach, vetting people. And the thing about it that you saw is, you know, there were times there at A&M where you could see him rush, but you could concentrate on his rush ability. And I think what really catapulted him, and I'm glad you said that, because I remember it distinctly, was his incredible time after time in those you know, the bend that he would have. You know what I'm saying?
Real flexible guy,
you know? Yeah, the bend. Anyway, so I'm a big proponent of it. I get asked, you know, sometimes by some representation, should he go, should he couldn't go? A lot of it depends on, you know, where you think I said, if he's healthy, definitely it's something worth going to.
Yeah, I think I may be wrong on this. Maybe you can help me recall. Remember Von Miller coming out? I think he played like most of the season with a sprained ankle or something, so his numbers didn't look like they did the year before, something like that, or he wasn't playing all the time. And I think that kind of solidified everything once he went to the Senior Bowl, that he was that kind of athlete that had that kind of bend that everybody thought he did.
But let's be sure that our listeners understand that you were there because you are in the Senior Bowl Hall of Fame. So
yes, he is. 2018.
Let's be sure they understand that. You know, I remember getting off the plane when I was going one time, you know, as the head coach, as Arizona and Joe Green and I were flying together, and we started walking in. You know, they got the picture of all those guys up there, and he says, "Coach Mack, don't be surprised when you see my picture on the wall in this airport."
Wow, that's pretty nice. That was pretty cool. What a great event. We're on with Coach Mack, giving us the Mack Attack after his world tour. I guess first and foremost, when you come back here and training camp starts, what are you looking for out of the young players when you're kind of watching their development? And who are you going to be watching? Because you're probably going to be watching some impactful, players. At least you think they will be. Well, naturally, Traylon Burks will be the first person I'll probably be watching, trying to see if how he's handling his conditioning, let alone the challenges of asthma and allergies and everything else involved in that, to see if he can actually contribute. Because if he missed some time during training camp, I think then that will start ringing some alarm bells until he shows that he can be out there on a consistent basis. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, you want him out there on a consistent basis. And, the rookies are still here. They've still been here this whole time since the mandatory OTA was over with. They've been here this whole time. And one of the big things they've been doing, this whole time, other than, the things that they have to do with their rookie orientation per the league that each club handles separately, is training. And that's going to be extremely, extremely important. So the first thing I always, not only for this team now that I'll be looking at, but every team that I saw coming back off the break was, what kind of condition are you in? And then with the young guys, past the condition, how much have you retained? How much, not only have you retained, how much have you still been studying it into what's going, what you were taught, and how quickly can you pick right back up immediately? Because if a guy in the meeting room acts like it's the first time he's heard it, then that raises a flag for me. But if a guy, you can pick up right where you left off and start rolling into it, then that's something that really stands out. Then once you get on the field, of course, clearly you're going to watch the first 3 days because they don't have any pads on. But when the pads do come on, then I'm going to start looking specifically at different positions at different times. The first thing I'm going to is the offensive line. I'm going to the offensive line with the pads on because I think that this is a very, very important evaluation time for this offensive line, just because there's some spots open. There are a couple of spots open that are going to need to be filled, and they're going to need to be won. And the only way that you can win it as an offensive lineman is once you have the pads on and then start to, to compete, with somebody else that's going physically against you with pads on. And we're going to be able to go through, I know you're going to be out there a lot, you and Mickey are, but we're going to be able to go through a series, with this because of the two teams that are coming in that they're going to work against. So to answer your question, I'm going to see how much the rookies look like they have retained, how comfortable they feel out there, what type of condition are they in, and then going to start looking at once those pads come on now, because that's a different story. And you guys know this as well as I do, and I'm always very honest on this. There are some guys that always look really good, when you're out there, shadow boxing without the pads on, but then they become kind of a different dude, with the longevity of the pads on. That's just the truth.
Yeah, I definitely probably didn't look so good with the pads off, but with the pads got on, it was just a whole nother level of concentration and focus, and then that's real ball to me. But, yeah, we're on with Coach Mack giving us the Mack Attack. I had to steal this from Mickey. He always gets intrigued by some unknown guy or a free agent, some will say walk on. But who are you watching that wasn't actually drafted, showed some glimpses of, he can make the practice squad, or maybe even the back end of the roster, maybe let's see how he looks in pads, and it could be, just some special teamer. But kind of give us some names of some of those guys that kind of be on the lookout for maybe possibly having a shot at worst case scenario, maybe even making the practice squad.
Well, I want to see what Josh Malone does, with the pads on. Because, just watching him, I know he's been in the league, but he hasn't been here. I want to see, because he had a pretty nice, OTAs.
Yeah, he did.
He had a pretty nice off season out there. I want to really see, what he is about out there. And then, a guy I want to look at, he was drafted, but I want to see him with the pads on too when it is Phil Jackson. I want to watch him and see if what I think is going to translate as to what he did at the University of Tennessee, where he caught my eye, when I was doing those 20 weeks of coach to coach with Doug Matthews, watching Southeastern Conference games and the Vols every week pretty deeply. I want to see if that translates, because that's going to be very, very, I think that would be very important. And the other guy I want to see with the pads on, again, another draft choice. I want to see what McCreary does with the pads on. I think I'd have a pretty good idea of what he's going to do. But I'm going to watch those positions, all of those positions. I will watch them. We have enough time in these practices where I will zero in, depending on what the installation is that day, on position. So by the time we're done with it, I will have watched every position, and then looking at the groups, because here's what I want. You asked me about the undrafted players. Mm-hmm. The thing I really want to watch is the first time they get pads on and start doing some special teams drill with some speed to it and some force to it. I want to see that too, because that to me, and you know this to be true, Blaine, that to me is where guys get noticed, especially that are on the back end of the roster early on in camp.
Yeah, that's definitely how I got noticed. Greg Williams was a special team coach, and I'd literally run through a brick wall if he told me to. I was just that dumb. So, yeah, so that's what I did. So, so in the meantime, another drafted player who you didn't mention, because he is not a rookie, but how much are you going to be focused? Because he could maybe potentially be the difference maker in taking this defense to a whole nother level if he's healthy, and that's Caleb Farley.
Yeah, well, I mean, to me, this is a huge training camp for him. I mean, this is the time for him, now, especially, and Caleb hasn't played football in a while, and so just a little bit when he was able to before his ACL popped up, last year. So yeah, I mean, this is going to be a huge training camp for him, and clearly he will be he will be clearly very much in the sights as far as watching him. It's going to be very important, because I believe, and again, as I said, I'm not putting any type of coronation on anybody or any group, but I think if all of those pieces can be healthy back there in the back end, and I say all of those pieces, and Caleb Farley is healthy and performing, that's going to really help the group in its entirety, because then you'll be able to move some people around for matchups.
There you heard it from Coach Mack, giving us the Mack Attack from Titans Radio.
That's right. Better rates, better coverage, better service. That's why Tennesseans have been relying on Farm Bureau health plans for their health coverage for over 75 years. They also bring us Coach Mack each week. Coach, I'd written down Josh Malone to ask you about today. It's interesting you brought his name up. While Traylon Burks wasn't getting some of those snaps that he would have been getting, everybody kind of moves up a spot in the rotation. So everybody gets a couple more reps here or there, maybe some reps with the first team. And throughout the OTAs, with certain guys not there, it gave a bunch of guys extra reps. I can't imagine in the grand scheme of things just how valuable that is for some young guys and some off-the-radar guys to get those extra reps.
Well, the reps then were important, but again, let's stay within the context of those reps and what goes on. Absolutely, those reps are important. But what is important, as I said to Blaine's question, when you first asked me, now what will I be looking at? I want to see how all of that translates to once these pads come on. Because, and you said, well, what difference does the pads make, to a receiver? We're talking, it makes a lot of difference. Now that you can get up there as a defense and you can jam them and you can do things where you can start to work things physically down the field as far as point of contact with the throw and contested catches and how they work through, because when they start doing their run drills, right now, when they were without pads on and these receivers were you're just kind of walking, you're coming down in there, but you're kind of showing where you would be when you block. Now the pads are on. Let's see who can go down in there and be physical and dig people out, who can get into those red zone drills when you're going live against the defense, and especially the lower red zone, and who can fight for those combat catches in close quarters down there. All of those things to me are vital, but it's vital when those pads come on. Josh Malone, as I said, he was a guy that you noticed, and again, he's a guy that's been in this league, and so you noticed him. Now let's see how that translates to being with this football team, with this football team's mindset when the pads come on.
Coach Mack always has the pads on as he joins us this same time of every Tuesday on Blaine and Mickey.
Well, Coach Mack, I only have one question. I get this all the time when I'm out in the public, and that is, will the Kings' workload be less not because of the foot, not because of anything else, because he has a new partner in the crime with him, and that's Hassan Haskins?
I think it will be less as we go through this training camp. I think once it starts getting geared up for real, no. Because I think
Oh, you teased me there, Coach Mack. I was like, oh.
Ultimately, no.
ultimately no. Because this is a guy. This is your guy. I mean, if you have got a real standout stud dude, you don't just sit him just to sit him. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, will he be rested at times? Absolutely, because they all need that. But do you go into this year thinking we need to protect Derrick Henry? I don't think that's Derrick Henry's mindset either.
Mm-hmm.
You guys saw him out there.
Right.
You guys saw him out there. I mean, that didn't look like his mindset either. And here's the other thing to remember. Derrick Henry has not been rehabbing this off season. Right. He's been training.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He rehabbed and got back, for the playoff game. He got back for the playoff game. Now you can debate his efficiency, but he rehabbed and he's been training this off season. There's a huge difference in coming back into a training camp if you've been training or if you've been rehabbing and then stepping back in to try to get into the flow in a training camp after rehabbing.
Coach, fantastic stuff. Good to know you back in Nashville, and need to get you back in the studio to hang out live with us again sometime so we can chop it up with you.
Guys, absolutely. You know how much I enjoyed talking ball with you two guys. See you guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it,
Coach Mack. Mack Across America has ended. He is back in Nashville. So look for Coach Mack at a location near you in Nashville. All right, the details are out now about Terry McLaurin's contract. I also have an unbelievable stat about Terry McLaurin that I'll share with you next. I like to find these. I got one for you next. Blaine and Mickey.
He wasn't the greatest cathedral player.
No. Blaine and Mickey, 1045 The Zone. I was telling Blaine, my senior year in high school on our basketball team, we did not have one player who could dunk. And they had a 5'11" guy who was dunking all over everybody. He was telling me, I'm like, we didn't have anybody who could dunk. Nobody, not one. Not one person. I don't know if anybody in our school could dunk.
In high school, I could barely dunk.
Listen to
so
him.
I couldn't
barely.
dunk in actually a game. Like a game, like it get to, I don't know, man. But, freelancing and practice or something. But,
Did you get on that leaper machine? Do you remember that? You get under it, had like a. Y'all have one of those leaper? The leaper. No?
I don't recall that.
It was just made your quads explosive and your thighs and everything. You got under it and you would push up and it gave resistance.
We're more blue collar, so we were just on the machine that you just put, under your shoulders. And you just kind of do the ups.
Okay, that's the only nice thing we had at my school. I think somebody gave it to us.
That was really good, like this.
Man made it.
Yeah, we all made it. It was like this thing you were like, it modeled climbing a hill. Then I started doing power cleans, and that really helped me out. But
because when you got to college, you were dunking like 360, you said.
Oh, yeah. I started doing power cleans. I was super power clean, 315, 6 or 7 times. This is how anal I was, man, when I was in college and how focused. Just imagine, Lucas was just past this point. So at the halftime of a basketball game at UT games, let's just say this. I would go in the weight room and go lift weights. Come back out. Hey, how the game going? Serious by myself. And I'll be in there doing some serious stuff now. Yeah, I was focused like that, man. I was on the whole. I think I was already there, and then my focus being in the military background, so that made it really easy. But once they told me that I had a shot at the league going into my junior year, I said, there will be no more partying. I'll be at the party, but my glass will have water in it. Yeah. And so I then got to see how crazy people was acting.
Right, because then you were like, oh. Wow.
Yeah. So my last 2 years of college, I didn't even touch. I was right there with you, Mickey.
Okay.
No alky.
Yeah, I had 4 years of, 5 actually.
Just imagine, Lucas, could you have done that?
I would have been the straggler that was late to the halftime locker room meeting because I stayed behind to watch dogs catching Frisbees on the halftime show.
Oh, okay. Well, I love the halftime.
I've told this story before about J.D. McKissick, who plays for the Commanders. When I worked at Arkansas State, somebody called me and said, there's something going on at the football complex. Like the door's open. I said, okay, I'll just drive down there. 4th of July. So I go driving down there. It's probably 2012 or 2013. I go driving down there. It's 2012. And it was 2013. And I drive down there, and sure enough, there's one car in the parking lot, and the door's got a brick. It's kind of propped up. You can hear this loud music. And I thought, well, I mean, it's not anybody who broke in because they wouldn't be in here playing music. I go in, there's one person in there on the 4th of July. It's J.D. McKissick. And he is lifting weights like his life depends on it.
Yeah.
And here's that dude. Now it's like 5-6 years in the NFL at Arkansas State. Because he's like, nope, y'all can go light firecrackers. I'm going to go lift weights.
I'm gonna say this just about that guy, and not even knowing him because I could kind of relate to that same instance. I think it was the belief in believing in yourself that it was going to happen. Really is what propels you to do those things. You have to believe in yourself, regardless of what people are saying. And I think, I don't know how that got instilled in me, but I always believe, regardless of the naysayers, because it happened all the time. And I never would talk about it. I would never talk about it. I never talked about I'm going pro, ever. But in the back of my mind, I was like, I got a shot.
Yeah.
I know I do. My action's going to show you because I'm all about that action, boss.
Terry McLaurin, he's all about that money, boss. Here you go from Rap Sheet.
Can I get a loan?
Total guarantees, 53.154. Fully guaranteed at signing, 34.6. Another 12.5 guaranteed in March of 2023. His signing bonus is $28 million. Roster bonuses at the start of each league year, and he has $250,000 escalators each year, except for the last year based on Pro Bowl nods. Now, here's my stat for you about Terry McLaurin. This is one of those things like it helps to go to the right place. It helps to go to the right situation. Like it helps to go to the system that fits what you do. Terry McLaurin.
His stats with the Commanders?
Yeah, listen to this. Do you guys know? I love to put you guys on the spot. Okay. Lucas, too. You know how many balls he caught in college, Terry McLaurin?
I told you he was a converted quarterback. So
in his career?
In his career at Ohio State. So he went to big school.
But he started. He played 2 years there.
Yeah, I can't remember if he left early.
No, it's 4 years.
4 years.
He was there. Yeah, but he started 2 years. He caught balls. But they had a whole bunch of guys. So you got to say the number is, I'm assuming 60 balls.
I was about to say 60. I'll say 70.
Because they threw the ball. I mean,
He caught
He
caught 75.
Okay.
Oh, I was
Listen to this.
74.
His catch numbers 0, 11, 29, 35. That's his career year by year. Since he's been in the pros, he caught 75 balls at Ohio State. He averages 74 catches per year in the pros. Yeah. Now think about that. Now I know you said he was converted and he's got to learn ways, but to go to the NFL and immediately eclipse all of your, what you did in college. His NFL career, 58 catches, 87 catches, and 77. So he has 222 in 3 years of NFL football. He had 75 in 4 years of college. Went to the right spot. And this is with like musical chairs at quarterback and everything else going on.
I mean, but you're going to get a stud quarterback at Ohio State, so it wasn't like that.
At Washington, he said.
The story they've told me is that he went to their camp, I think his sophomore year, and they were like, we're going to probably have to move you to a receiver here at Ohio State. So he stayed at running back in high school, but he said he started catching balls and running routes like 1,000 balls a day and running 1,000 routes a day in high school so he could prepare, because they said the next year he went to camp, they offered him. But they said, you're going to be a receiver. So then he said, oh, what I'm doing is working. So he stuck with that, and then he got there and eventually got caught up to the speed and everything else, and then he dominated. There in college, went third round. Yeah, there you go.
Scary Terry got the bag today, ladies and gents. $23.3 million per year. Went through all those guarantees. But, yeah, that's
that Binky money.
That's Lucas Panzika money because he's got all those different jobs. Yeah, 75 catches in his career. He averages 74 per year in the NFL, just the way you break it down. Crazy, man, crazy.
Who would have thunk it?
I would not, but he did. He believed, and he worked, and he got that bag, just like we believe. I believe we'll be back tomorrow with Jordan DeJani.
And as well ways. In the meantime.
In between time.
Peace!